Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday edition of the Huddle Hub Podcast. My name is Metal Mike, and I'm joined here, as always, every Sunday with the man with the best beer in the business, Mr. Cam G. Cam, how you doing on this wonderful football Sunday?
It is cold outside and rainy, and we are supposed to get hit with nasty weather between today and tomorrow. But other than that, I am ready, pumped, and excited for football Sunday.
Yeah, I just checked my weather, and we are supposed to get rain in about the next hour and all the way through until tomorrow afternoon. So we're in the same position. This cold weather, man, I hate the cold weather. I always say this. If it is not above 75 degrees, I get cold very easily, okay? But the thing is the heat in the house is currently up to 79 degrees. So I'm sitting here like, oh, my God. Like, open a window. It is hot in here. The 79 degrees outside is totally different than the heat inside. I mean, it's just dry air at this point in the house. So it's like, my God, turn the heat down. It's not that bad outside. It's only like 60 degrees, rainy. It's a good day to hang out inside and watch football. It definitely is.
I would say so.
You know, so, but Cam, we're starting at 10:30 a.m. on Sundays now. Gives us an extra half hour to get into some of the action coming up on the schedule today, talking about some of the football that happened yesterday. You know, and all around the country, high school football, the playoffs started over this weekend. So in most locations here in Pennsylvania, the playoffs started here. And, you know, by my high school, they started off hot. They were 3-0 to start off, and then they just went on this massive losing streak. It's like there was hope because they haven't had a good season since I was in school 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. But now it's just like, you know, there was some hope there. But college football, we're getting close to the end of the season. We just wrapped up week 11 yesterday, and we're getting into week 10 of the NFL, which is underway right now, underway on Thursday as the Broncos defeated the Raiders 10-7. The Colts are up right now, mid-second quarter, 13-7 to the Falcons out in Berlin. So we will keep our eye on that game as well. But before we get into everything today, I just want to ask everybody real quick that after the show, after we go off the air, please head over to all the Huddle Hub Podcast social medias, over on X, YouTube, and on TikTok at the Huddle Hub Pod, and on the Twitch channel at the Huddle Hub Podcast. Make sure you're hitting that follow button. On the YouTube, hitting that subscribe button. That's how you follow on YouTube. And please help us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going through the 2025 season and beyond. Definitely be appreciated. Cam, let's get into the first subject of the day, and that is week 11 of the college football season. A couple upsets happening yesterday in the top 25. Now, Cam, here's the thing. Is a couple weeks ago, I start my Tuesday show prep at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday. Why? Because the top 25 ends up getting updated. Well, when I started doing the top 25 list, about 2 hours later, I went to look again at that top 25 and it changed. And I was like, oh my gosh, they updated it. I have to redo this whole thing. So moving forward, I'm going to wait until 3 o'clock to do this. Well, yesterday came along and I'm watching the Iowa and Oregon game, right? Now on Sunday last week, Iowa was not in the top 25 when I did this. And I'm watching the game and I'm like, hold on. They're not number 20 on my list. They updated the list later on Sunday afternoon, later than normal. So now I'm going to wait until Sunday night to do my list. They got to stop this. They got to stop this whole update every 2 hours thing because I'm trying to get work done here. I'm trying to prep for shows, and they're keeping me from doing that and having to redo things. The heck?
I'm trying to keep you on your toes, I guess.
Pretty much. That's that. That's what it is. But a couple upsets that happened. So I'm going to go off the list that I have because, you know.
Makes sense.
You know, number 9, Texas Tech, they went out and upset BYU 29-7, and it's an upset because Texas Tech was number 9, BYU was number 8. So it's a technical upset by ranking. Wake Forest went out and upset number 12, Virginia, 16-9. California went out and upset number 14, Louisville, 29-26 in overtime. We also had number 3 Texas A&M defeated number 20 Missouri 38-17. We had USC defeat Northwestern 38-17. Unranked Tulane defeated number 22 Memphis 38-32. They upset them. And unranked Wisconsin upset number 24 Washington 13-10. Cam, you talked to me yesterday about the Vanderbilt game. Now, I know you were very heavily watching college football yesterday. You had a whole schedule worth of college football that you told me about yesterday. But one game that you really dug deep into in particular while talking to me about this was the Vanderbilt and Auburn game, which went into overtime. Vanderbilt walks out with the win 45-38. So Vanderbilt, man, 8-2 on the season. They're up there in the SEC right now. They're still probably not going to make the SEC title game because of Georgia and Alabama being up there. But Vanderbilt, right now, with the playoff projections, they're in the playoff projection at the moment, which is crazy. So your thoughts on that Vanderbilt game?
Yeah, no, it was a very scrappy game, I would say, by both. Definitely surprised by Auburn for sure. To go out there and try to get this upset as an unranked team on a very good Vanderbilt team. You know, like I said, I will say this about this Vanderbilt team if I haven't said this already. They have been one of, if not the most exciting teams, I think, to see or to watch play, I think, during the course of this season so far for college football. And I can't even sing the praises enough about Pavia. I mean, Pavia threw for 377 and 3 touchdowns. The man was just on fire, absolutely unstoppable, I think, in this game. The only thing I would say that kind of that almost cost them this game was I feel like sometimes like they might have tried to go for a field goal to just end this game in regulation. But sometimes I think they put a lot of I don't know, the confidence, I guess, in Pavia's legs and being able to get first downs and run the ball as effectively as he does, and that cost them. That cost them on downs, and that almost cost them the football game. So that right there, I think, is a bit of just overconfidence, I think, with this team in relying so much heavily on Pavia and Pavia's mobility. But other than that, like I said, they still pulled it out. Fantastic game, and Vanderbilt's still moving on. So,
yeah, and when you look at the Vanderbilt schedule, they have an opportunity to go and win out. They do. They have an opportunity to go and win out. And again, if Alabama were to go and lose a game, I think Alabama, number one, would have to lose 2 games in order for Vanderbilt to sneak into the SEC title game because Alabama defeated Vanderbilt earlier in the year. So their hopes would be for Georgia to end up losing a game in order to get into that SEC title picture. Texas A&M, I believe they're in the SEC as well. So I think Texas A&M is actually in that running as well. So, I mean, the SEC title game picture right now is a mixture of different things going on who's going to get in. But for this Vanderbilt team to at least get into the playoff and have an opportunity like a Boise State did last year could end up going in and making some noise. You know, they could, just like Virginia. Virginia yesterday, even though being upset by Wake Forest, still up there with Georgia Tech in the ACC. They're actually leading Georgia Tech at the moment in the ACC until the actual updates come up today. I mean, Virginia is another team that's been very surprising this year. Going out and losing to Wake Forest the way they did yesterday, you know, you look at how Wake Forest has been playing all year. It's like, why did Virginia not beat this team? But again, we've been seeing a lot of upsets this year that were unbelievable. UCLA at 0-4 going out and beating Penn State after Penn State coming off the Oregon loss. Penn State goes out and loses, 5 in a row. And then they almost upset Indiana yesterday.
Yeah.
Before Indiana goes and makes that last second ditch effort to win the game, which they did. So anything is in the realm of possibility. And I would not count Vanderbilt out of possibly making the SEC title game this year, because we have 2 weeks left in the regular season, because week 14 is Army-Navy. That week is dedicated to the Army-Navy game taking place out in Baltimore inside the Ravens Stadium this year. So 2 more weeks left. I would still not count Vanderbilt out. I wouldn't. I would still give them the chances. But speaking of Virginia and Wake Forest, I know it's another game that you focused on. What was your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, no, I was very impressed by Wake Forest. Definitely going out there and being able to win against Virginia. I mean, Virginia's been very good as well. They have been on, I believe, about a 4-game winning streak. I think since beating Florida State, in that crazy game where the fans just rushed the field. That was the game that really like opened my eyes for with Virginia. So yeah, so Wake Forest, very very impressive. I got to give credit to Robbie Ashford for sure. He's gone through a rough year, losing his dad back in April. So I mean, just the mental toughness to be able to go out there and still win games. Just without that support system behind him, is very impressive to say the least. So yeah, I'm definitely impressed by Wake Forest. I would say this is a team now that's definitely on my radar now. I didn't know much about them going into that game, but I mean, to go beat this very good Virginia team, that's something to be impressed by for sure.
Before getting into the ACC talk for a second, just to kind of correct myself, yes, Texas A&M is in the SEC. They are leading the SEC right now. They are up there with Alabama. Both teams 6-0 in the conference. You have Georgia, who is 6-1, Ole Miss, who's 5-1, Texas 4-1, Vanderbilt 4-2. So Vanderbilt is probably out of the realm of possibilities in the SEC title game, but could still possibly make a playoff. Feelings on the Arkansas opening. I mean, here's the thing, Jamie, is there's been a lot of coaches openings this year. I mean, Penn State has their opening. Florida has their opening with Billy Napier being fired a couple weeks ago. You know what? I'll say this right now. If you are a fan of a team who's just had recently a coach's opening, my feelings on Penn State right now, I would rather feel like I would like to see them just lose out, go into the offseason, don't go to a bowl game, and just hit that reset button and put themselves in a position to where they can build to get back to the expectations they had this year. Penn State had the expectations of making the national title and possibly hoisting that trophy. And it wasn't even after the Oregon loss. It was after the UCLA loss where everything fell apart. And, me and John talk about this a lot on the Tuesday show. He brings up the fact that, Penn State is still in bowl eligibility. Me as a fan, I don't want to see it. I want to see them go, lose out, get into the offseason. Number one, decide who your coach is going to be. Get that coach in that building early. Start your recruiting processes. Start deciding who's going to take over what position because the senior's leaving. Drew Aller's going to be out the door and head into the NFL draft this year, even coming off the injury. I would just sit back, get through the rest of the season, and then start worrying about, first off, who your coach is going to be. And that's what I think a lot of teams that are firing their coaches need to do. Even South Carolina, who fired their offensive coordinator this past week, they have an interim offensive coordinator. Even at that position, get through the rest of the season. Number one, worry about who you're going to bring in as the coach to lead these guys. So getting into the ACC, Georgia Tech right now 5-1, Virginia's 5-1, Pitt is 5-1, SMU 5-1, Duke is 4-1. Those are the teams at the top of the SEC or the ACC right now. Okay, so the ACC is wide open on number one, who's going to play in the title game, but number two, who could ultimately go out and win the ACC title. Cam, if you had to pick between Georgia Tech and Virginia, if that would be the ACC title game at the end of the year in Week 16, who do you see winning the ACC title?
I got to go with Virginia, honestly.
Okay, yeah. All right. I mean, they're fairly matched. They are. I mean, Virginia has one more loss in the overall at 8-2, where Georgia Tech's 8-1, but they're evenly matched up. Me and John said it. Virginia has come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They didn't catch my attention until maybe 2 weeks ago. Looking at the top 25, I'm like, Virginia? And then going and looking at their statistics, I'm like, whoa, okay. All right, Virginia's showing up. Just like Memphis, just like, Louisville, just showing up. BYU, showing up. Teams coming out of nowhere. So, but that's all we got in the college football stuff. Cam, do you have anything else you want to talk about in college football before we move on?
Well, the other game that I watched, and that was the LSU Alabama game.
Yes.
Yeah, it was just complete domination, I think, by Alabama. LSU once again they're struggling even with their interim GM or interim head coach right now. So yeah, it's just more so just the struggles for LSU. Alabama just looking dangerous right now. Ranked 4 right now. They'll probably move up maybe when the rankings come out. Maybe not. I don't know, but we'll have to see when the rankings come out. But like I said, Alabama once again is I would say probably one of my 4, maybe 5 top favorites. I think maybe to win it all. I think this year.
I mean, as far as the top 7 right now, we have Ohio State at number 1, Indiana number 2, Texas A&M at number 3, Bama at 4, Georgia at 5, Oregon at 6, Ole Miss at number 7. Those 3 positions, neither no team in those 7 positions have moved up nor down in the past 3 weeks. That has been the deadlock in the top 7. So I'll say this right now, though, that Alabama defense is very impressive. Very, very impressive. And as much as I dislike Alabama, I would not mind seeing that defense alone being showcased in the national title game against the Ohio State offense.
Yeah.
That right there would be a national title game that I would watch if it happens because of the Alabama defense and the Ohio State offense. I mean, I'm going to watch the national title game either way, because we're going to cover it. But it's just the sole fact I would be more intrigued of watching it if it's Alabama and Ohio State in the national title game, which I think that's the roads we're leading to at the end of the day. I do. I feel like that's the roads we're leading to at the end of the day. But we'll have to find out. Well, we'll definitely have to find out. That is what we got in college football today. We are going to move on to the news coming out of the NFL. A lot of news to cover. I got to move this thing. Where'd it go? I have so much banner stuff written up here. I got to organize this thing. It's a mess. It is a mess. Update on the Atlanta Indianapolis score. Falcons are 14-13 with 2 minutes left in the second quarter in the first half. So let's get into the news. Cam, coming out of the NFL, me and John covered the trade deadline on Tuesday, which was at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A lot of big trades. Sauce Gardner heading out to Indianapolis to help out that defensive backfield. We also had Rashid Shaheed, who got sent out to Seattle to help out that wide receiver room. Quentin Williams out in Dallas now from the Jets. The Jets ending up with a lot of first-round draft picks. And Cam, before we get into the news of things, okay, Good Morning Football, I found a video. I came across a video on Wednesday or Thursday that Good Morning Football was talking about the possibilities of Joe Burrow, quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, being traded to the New York Jets in the 2026 offseason with all the first-round draft picks that the Jets have acquired. Do you think it's out of the realm of possibility of Joe Burrow getting traded to the Jets with all the first-round picks they currently acquired?
Probably. No, everything's possible. Probably not. Honestly, the biggest, first of all, the biggest mistake that the Cincinnati Bengals can make, I think, is letting go of Joe Burrow. I think that's a mistake in itself. Because what they should be focused on is building around him, because their number one issue seems like year after year since Burrow started has been their O-line. Their O-line has just been horrible. So, yeah, I don't him going to the Jets is just not the move, and I think it's just. Not only is it out of the realm of possibility, I just don't see Cincinnati giving him up. So,
I mean, draft picks talk, man. Draft picks talk.
That is very true. But
I mean, look what the Jets got for Sauce Gardner. They ended up getting 2 first-round draft picks from the Colts for Sauce Gardner. Yep. So. And nobody thought that the Jets would let go of Sauce. Sauce is one of the top defensive backs in the league.
Yeah.
Why would you let that go when you're trying to build your team? And you could have built your defense around Quentin Williams and Sauce Gardner, which the Jets were attempting to do. But then they went along and traded Bryce Huff away last year in the offseason before the 2024 season to the Philadelphia Eagles and got, I believe, a 4th-round draft pick for him there. So, I mean, anything I think is possible. And Joe Burrow going to the Jets,
they're definitely hitting the hard reset out in New York.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely.
Them trading away Sauce is just exhibit A pretty much.
I mean, when you trade away 2 of your first round draft picks that you drafted for your defense, That screams rebuild.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's not like these guys were deep into their career. They're young guys yet.
Yeah.
They got a career, still a full-on career ahead of them. So the Jets definitely hitting that very hard reset button. And we'll have to see what the New York Jets do moving forward going into the offseason, especially today when they take on the Cleveland Browns. I mean, I'll say this. Cleveland, the Browns and the Jets today, you would think with how these teams are playing right now, probably won't be a good ball game. Watch it be one of the best ball games of the weekend. Watch that happen.
Yeah.
Because sometimes stuff like that does happen to where you think, oh, this is going to be the worst ball game of the week. Ends up being the best ball game of the week. You know, some of the news coming out. Number one, CJ Stroud, quarterback of the Texans. He is going to be out today. He is still in concussion protocol. So Davis Mills will be the starter out in Houston. The Texans are going to be taking on the Jaguars today. So, I mean, the Jaguars right now, they're an up and down team. They go out 1 week and it's, beating the Chiefs on Monday Night Football on crazy plays. But the Jaguars are in the top 5 in turnovers on offense right now. That Jaguars offense is a mess. And Brian Thomas Jr., who's also going to be out today for the Jaguars. I mean, your thoughts? Do you think Davis Mills has an opportunity to go out and pick up a win for the Texans today? Or do you think CJ Stroud is going to be deeply missed in this ball game?
Again, I have to keep saying this. I mean, anything is possible, but I haven't really seen enough from Mills to really know much about him. I mean, he's mainly riding the bench quite a bit. So, I mean, like I said, anything's realistically possible. Again, I think it's really going to be relying on his protection. I think, if he gets good protection, then, he might be able to do some things and make some great plays. But I definitely do think that just off of just the sound of that, the fact that, CJ Stroud is not going to be in this game, I think he's going to be deeply missed. Quite frankly, I don't think Mills has the same throwing ability, same play ability that CJ Stroud has. So it might honestly hurt them in this game today.
I mean, Davis Mills was the starter in Houston before the Texans did go out and draft CJ. So Davis did have the opportunity to show that he's the guy, but couldn't do so. And then they went out, got CJ Stroud, and the story ends there for Davis Mills, and he's the backup. So we'll have to see what Davis Mills can do today against the Jaguars. We will talk about that game a little more a little later as we run down Week 10 of the NFL. Puka Nacua, wide receiver of the Rams, he was dealing with some nagging injuries this week, but they said that he is good to go against San Francisco today. So Puka Nacua, if you have him on your fantasy team, put him back in because he may make an impact. In that game, Ricky Pearsall's 49ers wide receiver, he did not practice today or did not practice this week. There is a possibility that he is out for the week. So, the wide receiver room out in San Francisco, very thin, but the 49ers still staying afloat in the NFC West as they are one of the 3 teams who are 6-2 right now, which is crazy. All these backups coming in and playing for the 49ers, and they just keep winning, which is nuts. So, James Cook, running back of the Bills, he was questionable earlier this week, but he is good to go with the ankle injury. He is going to be full force today against the Dolphins, so James Cook will be good to go. Buccaneers, running back Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin, they were not spotted at practice this week as they are both dealing with nagging injuries. I mean, the Buccaneers right now, sitting at the top of the NFC South, still staying afloat and going out and winning games. But today they got a pretty big matchup against the New England Patriots, who I think are surprising everybody the way they're playing right now. Do you think the Patriots have a more of an upper hand to win this ball game against the Bucs today, or do you think the Bucs might actually pull this one out?
I don't know, man. The Bucs are like the zombies right now of the NFC because they just somehow keep finding new life. I don't know. It's like they just won't die. They just won't go away. So it's very impressive. It's very exciting to see them always find ways to win, even with all of I've seen them win games with all their top receivers out. They're throwing to, backups or whatever. So very impressive for Baker Mayfield. He's playing like an MVP this year as well. So I don't know. It's going to be a toss-up. This might be the game of the week because you got two top teams right now that I think are impressing a lot of people, especially the Patriots. We said it, before week 1 even started. We didn't even really see the Patriots, making the playoffs, and now that looks like it's going to be a shoo-in, easily because they have just been absolutely impressing and shocking everybody, I think, who is a football fan right now. So this definitely could be a game of the week. It's realistically a toss-up. I have no idea what's going to happen.
You're not wrong. I mean, the Patriots were not favored at all to even make the playoffs this year, and now they're out there. They're at the top of the AFC East. Right behind them is the Bills. I mean, at this point of the season, we're used to sitting here saying the Bills are going to win the AFC East. Now it's a toss-up. It is a toss-up. They are neck and neck, and the Patriots right now have that head-to-head because they beat the Bills earlier this year on Sunday Night Football. Yeah. So, I mean, the Patriots, they can end up going out and winning the AFC East, and they're in the mix with the Colts and the Steelers and the Broncos for home field advantage, which is nuts to think about. So, I mean, we'll talk more about the Patriots and the Buccaneers later on when we run down week 10 of the NFL. What other one do we talk? DeForest Buckner, defensive tackle, the Colts. They're playing right now, was placed on IR. He's going to miss the next couple of weeks with a neck injury. Young-Ho Koo, kicker. He's replacing kicker of the Giants, Graham Gano. Graham Gano has not been having the greatest of luck as of late for the Giants as a kicker. Young-Ho Koo is going to take over the kicking duties today out in New York. So Tom McMahon, special teams coach of the Raiders, he was fired after Thursday night's loss against the Broncos. So the Raiders already making some decisions on the coaching staff, and they started with their special teams coach. So do you think the Raiders moving forward in the next couple of weeks are going to start making some changes in that coaching room or in that coaching staff as the weeks go on if they end up starting to lose more games?
I mean, I think they kind of have to. What are they now? 2-7 or whatever it is. Yeah. It's looking really bad. So it would look worse on them if they don't make any moves with the coaching staff. Because it would just, I mean, it's basically them just accepting defeat or accepting mediocrity, especially when they had such a high praise to do something in the midst of this season. New head coach, new quarterback. Aston Genty, who just dominated in college, coming out of there, drafting him. So, and then having this disappointing season. So you have to have at this point you have to make some sort of decisions on the coaching staff and start to mix things up there. And hopefully, end the season out on a high note, and then be able to build off of that for next season. So,
all right, Jaden Daniels, quarterback of the Commanders, he is not being placed. It was announced earlier this week that he is not being placed on injured reserve. Now, we've seen the injury that he suffered to the arm last week, but it was determined that they're going to reevaluate his injury during the bye week. So, number one, Cam, I think this is a bad decision. I think Jaden Daniels, at this point of the season, the state that the Commanders are in, that he needs to just heal up the rest of the year. Get ready for 2026 because the Commanders, they're number one, not going to be making a run for the NFC East. Even if Jaden Daniels comes back in 4 weeks, not making a run for the NFC East, not even going to make a playoff. I mean, what would you do if you were the coaching staff? Would you sit him for the rest of the year, or would you go along with them actually reevaluating his injuries?
No, I'd be sitting him for the rest of the year. This is now the third injury, I think, maybe for Jaden Daniels. It's really been rough. Dealing with hamstring injuries and now this injury to the arm. Yeah, no, I'd sit him the rest of the year. I mean, what's more important, trying to salvage, what's left of the season or the longevity of his career? Yeah, I think it's longevity of his career. Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Dan Quinn is really doing out there. Some very questionable decisions. It just looks desperate. It looks like a desperation move in order to try to save the season. But there's nothing to evaluate. You saw the injury. The injury was gruesome. So There's nothing to evaluate. I don't think he's coming back. And even if he is good to come back, I don't think he should come back. You're just risking him being out longer, and you're risking, putting his young career in jeopardy. So I just don't think it's a good move.
I call this the RG3 effect.
Yeah, because people did.
They did the same thing with RG3. He went out, he hurt himself, and wasn't even out a full season before coming back and re-injured himself in the playoffs. It's the RG3 effect. That's what it is. They're doing the same thing to Jaden Daniels. And I think if they make the decision to go reevaluate and say, oh, he'll be good in 4 weeks, I think they're making a huge mistake. This kid has a lot of talent and has a bright future ahead of him. Don't ruin it now. Don't. That's my thought. Harrison Mevis, he is a kicker for the Rams. He is replacing kicker Josh Carty for Sunday's game against the 49ers. Josh Carty has missed the most field goals and extra point attempts this season out of all kickers in the NFL. So the Rams making a little bit of a change at the kicker position to see if anything will change because of having the most misses this year at kicking. So I think it's a decent move for the Rams to try and do this now, especially at this point in the season. A lot of people think that kickers don't matter, and it's like, oh, they just kick an extra point and kick for they matter. They matter. Because big game opportunities come up for these guys, and they have to handle a lot of pressure. They do. Mark Sanchez, he is a Fox reporter. He's a former quarterback in the NFL, played for the Jets, played for the Eagles. He was a journeyman after he's deemed as Mr. Butt Fumble, basically. We all seen it, on Thanksgiving Day a few years ago where he fumbled a ball off the butt of his center. Well, he was let go from Fox after the alleged there's allegations of him on attacking a truck driver last month. He was let go from Fox. He is being replaced by Hall of Fame quarterback Drew Brees. So Drew Brees is going into the booth. He's going from being in the studio to the booth. So he's taking over Mark Sanchez's duties for the rest of the season in Fox. And it looks like they're going to stick with him moving forward even beyond the 2025 season. So Mark Sanchez is done. That's it. No more announcing for him. 2 more things in news. There was some news that did happen. 3 more things real quick. Some news that came out this week. We're not going to get into the deep depths of thing, but our rookie defensive end, Marshawn Nealon, the Dallas Cowboys, passed away at the age of 24. If you want to know anything about it, go look up the article for yourselves and read everything. We're just going to mention that because it was in the news this week. Rico Dowdle, running back of the Panthers, he was fined $14,491 this week for a celebration that he did against the Packers. Now, Cam, did you ever watch the show Key and Peele?
Yes.
Okay. So the skit where they score the touchdown and do the thrust thing? Well, Rico Dowdle mimicked that celebration from the show, but the thing is he didn't do the third pump. But the ref still threw the flag after 2 pumps, and he gets a call from the league saying, hey, guess what? You're getting fined. Now, here's the even funnier part. Rico Dowdle has started a GoFundMe page to help pay his fine. So he's relying on the fans to help pay his $14,000 fine.
That's funny.
It's crazy, right? Last bit of news. We are down to the final 9 head coaches for the Hall of Fame this year. These are the 9 head coaches that are up for making the Hall of Fame in 2026. Head coach Bill Belichick. We know what Bill Belichick has done. So Bill Belichick, former coach of the New York Giants, Tom Coughlin, former coach of the Seahawks and Packers, Mike Holmgren, Chuck Knox, Buddy Parker, Dan Reeves, Marty Schottenheimer, George Seifert, and Mike Shanahan. Those are the 9 finalists for the Hall of Fame this year for the coaches. So I'll say this, Cam, I don't know about you, but I think Bill Belichick gets it. I think he ends up getting the Hall of Fame because of him still, number one, currently coaching out in North Carolina for the Tar Heels, but just what he has done in the past 20 years in the NFL, winning 6 championships with the New England Patriots. I mean, I think Bill Belichick gets it out of all the coaches, but I don't know if you have any thoughts real quick before we move on.
No, like I said, I think it's a no-brainer for, Bill Belichick. As much as I did not enjoy that time out in New England, they were literally like Palpatine and Darth Vader, and they were just menaces. They had that reign of terror over the NFL for that period of time. So, but yeah, it's a shoo-in though. Like I said, you look back on that time, and like I said, they were just good at what they did. The best head coach and quarterback combination with Tom Brady and Belichick. So, no brainer that he's going to get a yellow jacket, sooner or later. So, I think it's the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, from the year 2002 all the way up to the year 2020, you sat there and said, at the beginning of the year, the Patriots making the playoffs. It's just all about whether they go to the Super Bowl or not. And 9 times out of 10, you were able to predict that before the regular season even kicked off. Like, the Patriots are representing the AFC, so it's going to be a huge battle in the NFC to see who represents the NFC, basically. Yeah. And now we're in the part where the Kansas City Chiefs, even though they're in the position they're in today at 5-4 and not in the playoff picture. By the way, Cam, this is the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, even with it being the early playoff predictions, the first time, or projections, this is the first time, even with the first playoff projections, that the Chiefs are not in a playoff projection.
Wild.
Yeah. They've always been in playoff projections every time. First time in the Patrick Mahomes era. So, but before we get into the week 11 rundown, real quick, Cam, we got some NFL records and milestones that could be broken this week. Okay. First one, quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson. He is making his 100th career start this week. He has won 72 of the first 99 career starts. Okay. With a win on Sunday, he will break his tie with Hall of Famer Kenny Stabler for the 4th most quarterback in their first 100 starts to win since 1950. Patrick Mahomes, he has 78 wins in his first 100 starts. Tom Brady and Roger Staubach also have both have 76 wins in their first 100 starts. So Lamar Jackson, with a win, will break his tie if he earns his 73rd win out of his first 100 starts, and he will be 4th most solo on that record. So it would go Mahomes, Brady and Staubach, and then Jackson. So it's good. It's crazy to think about. 73 wins in 100 starts. He has not lost a lot.
No.
But playoffs aren't too kind to him. Just saying. The Baltimore Ravens tight end Mark Andrews. He needs 18 more yards to surpass Derek Mason in career total yards of 5,777 yards in Ravens history. So this is franchise history. So if he gains 18 yards in their game today, he will have 5,778 yards, which would put him in the Baltimore Ravens most franchise yards in a career. He would surpass Derek Mason. Now, doing so would make him one of the only 5 tight ends to own their respective franchises' all-time receiving record. Tight end position, man. It's a sneaky position.
Yeah.
A lot of people count it out, but I'll tell you what, it's a sneaky position because you got to think Kansas City. I mean, look at what Travis Kelce just did. He just broke their record, so it's crazy to think. Jackson Smith and Jigba, wide receiver of the Seahawks. He is 93 yards away from surpassing Julio Jones with his 2018 record of 1,040 yards in his first 9 career games for 5th most since starting of the Super Bowl era. So the top 4 spots are in striking distance, though. Tyreek Hill, in his first 9 games of his career, had 1,104 yards, in the first 9 games of the season with the team. Tyreek Hill had 1,104 yards, and then again he did it with 1,076 yards. Isaac Bruce out in St. Louis, the Rams, 1,073 yards, and then Justin Jefferson 1,060 yards out in Minnesota. So Jackson Smith and Jigba, yet again, as a rookie, going into the record books if he gets 93 yards today. So it's crazy. Jackson Dart, quarterback of the Giants. If he would rush for 60 yards this week, he can become the 5th quarterback all time to rush for 50-plus yards 5 times in their rookie season. So if he rushes for 50 yards, it will be his 5th game with 50-plus yards rushing. And he would be what place would he be in? It would be his 5th time. Cam Newton did it in his rookie year 8 times in 2011. Robert Griffin III, he did it 8 times in 2012. Jaden Daniels did it 8 times in 2024. And Lamar Jackson did it 6 times in 2018. So Jackson Dart has a lot of time to surpass Cam Newton. Robert Griffin III has a couple games left to do it. So, yeah, he could be 5th quarterback all time with 50-plus rushing yards as a quarterback in their rookie year. 2 more. Here's a fun one. Here's one for you, Cam, for the Steelers. Who do you think could break a record this week, Cam?
Rodgers, I guess.
You are correct on that, sir. Aaron Rodgers. He has 165 passing touchdown games in his career. Okay. He could end up surpassing Peyton Manning on Sunday for 3rd most in history with 2 passing touchdown games. So if he gets 2 passing touchdowns tonight against the Chargers, he would have 166 games with 2 touchdown passes and would surpass Peyton Manning for 3rd most. So, and he's not too far. I believe he's not too far behind 1st and 2nd place either. So Aaron Rodgers could be ending up breaking some records out in Pittsburgh. And then on the Monday night game, there's 2 records that could be broken in the Monday night game. Jalen Hurts, he will tie Josh Allen for the most primetime games with a passing and rushing touchdown. So if he ends up rushing and passing for a touchdown tomorrow night against the Packers, he would tie Josh Allen for most all time on primetime. So, and then Josh Jacobs, running back of the Packers, if he scores a rushing touchdown, he will surpass Terrell Davis and Emmitt Smith for the longest streak of touchdowns in prime time. He currently has 8 straight games on prime time with a touchdown. If he scores one more on Monday night, he will surpass Emmitt Smith and Terrell Davis for most all time with 9 in a row on prime time. So those are the records and milestones that could be broken this week. Some very interesting ones. Some very good ones too. You know, ever since I started doing this this segment, I've been having a lot of fun doing this and looking up this stuff because, you sit there and watch games and they say, "Oh, this milestone was just broken." I didn't even know that was happening. Didn't even know. And now it's like, okay, I go into watching games like, hey, if this happens, it's gonna break a milestone. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool to think about. But that's it for the records and milestones, Cam. We're going to get into breaking down week 11 of the NFL. Before we do so, we're going to take about a 45-second break here on the Huddle Hub podcast. We will be right back with you after these. So please make sure you're heading over to the Huddle Hub Podcast social medias after the show and hitting that follow button on the YouTube, hitting that subscribe button. That's how you follow on YouTube. Over on the X, TikTok, and YouTube at the Huddle Hub Pod. On the Twitch channel at the Huddle Hub Podcast, make sure you're hitting that follow button. Helping us build the Huddle Hub Podcast going through the 2025 season and beyond. It would definitely be appreciated. We are growing, Cam. The Huddle Hub Podcast is growing. We gained a couple new followers over on the TikTok this week. A lot of people being very active in the comments section on all the videos. So, the Huddle Hub Podcast is growing, man, and we will soon be live on TikTok. We're getting there. That's going to happen soon enough. We'll be live over on the TikTok as well soon. So, hoping by playoff time, we'll be live over there. It's what we're gunning for. So, let's get into week 10 of the NFL, Cam. We have a game currently happening over in Berlin at the moment. The Falcons are up 14-13 early 3rd quarter, and the Falcons have the ball on Indianapolis's 30. So it looks like the Falcons are going to try and score yet again, whether it's going to be a field goal or a touchdown. So they are driving at the moment. But let's get into the 1 o'clock set of games, kicking things off with the Cleveland Browns heading out to New York to take on the Jets. Again, Cam, people would probably think that this game is probably going to be the worst game of the week, but there may be a possibility this might be the best game of the week. What do you got on the Browns and the Jets?
I mean, you got two teams that have realistically nothing to lose. So I think that's in itself speaks for itself. So this could be a war. I agree with you. This could honestly end up being a really good game. I don't know. I mean, the Browns are still struggling at, whatever they're trying to do at quarterback. Again, I truthfully don't believe Dylan Gabriel is the answer. He hasn't necessarily been terrible, but I don't think he's a fit for them to be, starting him right now. And then the Jets, like I said, this is another team, much like the Raiders, like I said earlier, that had such high praise coming into this season. They started off week 1, went to battle with Pittsburgh, and since then have really struggled. So they just fell off like not even a mountain. I mean, not even a cliff. It was more like a mountain. So I don't know. This honestly could be the game of the week or one of them for sure.
I'm not going to disagree with you on the Dylan Gabriel thing, because Dylan Gabriel, when you watch him play for Cleveland, he's not bad at sitting into the pocket and checking out his receiver, seeing if anybody's. He's very good with trying to look downfield, but the problem is he plays safe ball. If he's under pressure, instead of trying to get the ball into a possible situation of a receiver to make a play, he'll throw it out of bounds or he'll just slide down. Dylan Gabriel plays a lot of safe football for Cleveland, and that's, I think, is one of their problems. I was never fully against the fact of Shedeur Sanders being the guy out in Cleveland. Okay. Because I think that could happen at some point, and it could end up happening in the next 2 weeks. The Browns could sit here and say, you know what? Even with a win against the Jets, we can end up losing next week. But 2 wins on the season, 3 wins on the season, whatever it may be, it's not enough to get us in the playoffs. Let's start looking at the guys who are going to be here in the long run, because we may have a lot of guys who are leaving at the end of the year. Let's get the guys in there that are going to be here that we can think about maybe starting, like a Jerome Ford. They always end up going out and getting Kareem Hunt for some reason at some point, but Kareem Hunt flip-flops between the Chiefs and the Browns. Kareem Hunt is back and forth between the Chiefs and the Browns. Lately with the Chiefs, I think the Browns really should start looking at the possibility of putting Shedeur Sanders and seeing what he got at the back end of this year before they make the decision. Do we go out and look at another quarterback, or can we trust one of these 2 guys that we have on our roster? But I mean, do you think that Shedeur Sanders at this point of the year should start getting his shot?
I think so. They don't have anything else to lose, as I said already. The season is slipping away from them as it is already. So, might as well. It's unfortunate. I don't personally like seeing, these upstarts or these rookies come in here and we're halfway through the season already, and you're already having a losing record team, and now they want to put you in there. For me, that's always like throwing them into the deep end and saying, here, throw us a life raft, or here, save us from drowning. It's kind of already too late, but put him in there, see what he can do. I mean, you at this point, you need a mix up, because it's just not working with Dylan Gabriel.
I mean, the Falcons did it last year with Michael Penix. I mean, the Falcons, you looked at them and it's like, okay, they're not in the playoff hunt. I mean, they're in the back end of the playoff hunt. We have this rookie quarterback who we went out and spent a first-round draft pick on, which surprised and shocked the hell out of everybody. Let's give him a shot. Let's bench Kirk Cousins, because Kirk Cousins was having turnover issues at the time. It's like, now let's give this guy a shot. And Michael Penix has been the guy out in Atlanta as of recent, dealing with the injury, and Kirk Cousins has been getting another shot. But Michael Penix is the guy moving forward out in Atlanta, and we're not going to see Kirk Cousins as the starter out in Atlanta again. The next time we see Kirk Cousins as a starter is if he ends up getting traded to another team, because the way his contract is right now in Atlanta, he is locked in there as the backup. So we'll have to see what the Browns decide to do moving forward after this week. The New Orleans Saints, they head out to Carolina to take on their NFC South rival, Carolina Panthers. The Panthers right now, I mean, they're winning ball games. They're surprising a lot of people. Cam, what do you got on the Panthers and Saints today?
I think the Panthers have this. I would hope so. It was very rocky to start off the season. They looked good one week and then they looked terrible the next. But they look like they're really starting to put things together. 5-4 in the season, surprising to me. I would say probably to a lot of other people as well. So again, I've said this 100 times before, and I'm probably going to say it 100 more. But I'm a huge supporter of Bryce Young because I just feel like he was dealt a really rough hand being with the Panthers. Or they're having to pick up. They've started maybe 2-3 rebuilds and resets for this team, and nothing has really seemed to work. So hopefully now they've finally are putting the pieces together. So I would say Panthers should have this locked in, and should be 6-4 on the season. That's great that they look good right now. So yeah, I'm really rooting for Bryce Young though.
I've been a fan of Bryce Young since he's come into the league, since he got drafted to Carolina. I've been pulling for this kid ever since. And even when he got benched last year for a couple games, came back in and started showing improvement. Comes in this year, and I sat here thinking, you know what? Carolina, they showed the improvement on the back end of the year. Bryce Young, especially if they go out and get some guys for Bryce Young to throw the ball to, and even a running back that can take care of business behind it, the Panthers could end up being a team that can go out and win their division. And right now, they're one game back in the NFC South to the Tampa Bay Bucks. So. Is it out of the realm of possibility of this team going on a run and winning their division? No. You look at their schedule, they have some fairly decent teams that they can go out and beat. They could. I mean, they have their bye week in week 14, so if they build momentum now, could that bye week kind of put them in a position of losing momentum? Who knows? Because they are a fairly young team. It's going to be on them to pick up that momentum coming off the bye week if they go on a winning streak right now. 5-4, one game back from Tampa Bay. Carolina, man, I think they're going to give Tampa Bay a run for their money in the back end of this year. Tampa Bay dealing with a lot of injuries right now, so that could be the crutch of Carolina sticking with them. But regardless, the Panthers are winning ball games. Second in their division, one game back. I'm Bryce Young, man. He could be actually just starting to do everything people expected him to do.
Yeah.
Now, the New England Patriots head out to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers today. The Buccaneers dealing with some injuries. Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin's out. The Patriots, on the other hand, Mac Jones is out there killing it in New England. They are leading the AFC East right now. That's crazy to think because of Buffalo. What do you got on the Patriots and the Bucs?
Again, this can be another great game. This is looking like it's going to be a shootout, honestly. I would say this is the Patriots. I would say this is the real true test. Even saying that's crazy because they play Buffalo, but I think this could be their true test right here. Again, to try to not even just keep up with the Bucs, but beat the Bucs, like close them out. Don't allow them to get back in this game because they have had their fair string of these fourth quarter comebacks. This Baker Mayfield magic, and he just refuses to lose. So that's going to be the number one thing I think this defense needs to be able to stop and really close out the Bucs today to hold on to another victory. But yeah, this is a game that can go either way. Very impressed by both of these teams so far this season.
Last week the Colts went out and they got beat up by Pittsburgh. 5-6 turnovers. You're thinking the Colts are the most dominant team, which right now they are the most dominant team in the league. You can't take that away from them, even in a loss against Pittsburgh. They are the most dominant team at the moment. They're in a battle with Atlanta right now. People are thinking Daniel Jones is back to his old ways. After one game, thinking Daniel Jones is back to his old ways. People are probably even saying that right now against Atlanta. And I say this because New England right now leading their division, first place. They're only a half a game up on Buffalo. It's surprising and shocking a lot of people. We still got 8 weeks left in the season after today. So the Patriots, they could end up falling off. You never know. This could be, again, a fluke of a fact that they're going on this nice run. You never know. And you're not wrong. Tampa Bay, they are one of those teams that will not give up in the fourth quarter, even if they're down by 10 points. Baker Mayfield does not accept defeat.
No.
Even with him having Chris Godwin out and Bucky Irving, And, his wide receiver crews are basically backups in Sterling Shepard. And Tampa Bay does not give up. Where New England, they're still a young team. And yeah, they're winning games. This is their first true test. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. This is their first true test. And today is going to prove whether New England is real and looking to compete, or they're just lucky to be doing what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
So definitely with you on that one. Do you have any more thoughts on the Bucs and Patriots though?
No, that's it.
Okay. The Baltimore Ravens head out to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. The Vikings last week picking up the win against the Lions. The Ravens, they're starting to get some wins, trying to get back on track. Lamar Jackson's was back on the field last week. Going to be on the field again, obviously, today. JJ McCarthy, he's back for the Vikings. Was back last week, ends up picking up the win over their division rival Lions. What do you got on the Ravens and Vikings today?
Again, with the Vikings, this is another team that just you think their season's done, and then they just they find new life and figure out a way to keep winning games. JJ, like I said, he has definitely dealt with his fair share of injuries. He was injured most of all of last year. Got injured again this year. And so who did they bring in? Who was their backup? I don't know why I'm drawing
Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz was the guy that was their backup. And he did his thing. You know, Carson Wentz was definitely a lot better for this team than I thought he was going to be. And they still found a way to win games. They were still rocky though. It wasn't like they went on this crazy winning streak or whatever. It was like, they win maybe 2 games and then they lose it the next game or whatever. So it was kind of up and down, but they were still a fairly good team. And now they got JJ back and they're still winning games. So it doesn't really seem to affect them too much. I think they got their hands full with this Ravens team. They're starting to get healthy again. They're starting to get things back on track. They got Lamar Jackson back, which again, like I said, that spells danger, I think, for all of the AFC in general. So this could another game that can go either way realistically. But again, this is probably another real test for the Vikings to see if they are legit against a fairly good Ravens team.
I mean, the Vikings are in 4th place right now in the NFC North. They're behind the Bears by half a game, or a full game. Packers are 5-2-1, Lions are 5-3, Bears are 5-3, Vikings are 4-4. Fairly close in the NFC North. You go over to the AFC North, Steelers are 5-3, Ravens are 3-5. Okay, so the Ravens are 2 games back from the Steelers. And I sit here talking and talking up Pittsburgh every week because I believe the Steelers are a much better team than some people think they are. They're in that realm of possibly having home field advantage through the playoffs, which nowadays is a big deal. The Ravens, do they have an opportunity to maybe sneak in and try and win their division? It's going to be all dependent on what Pittsburgh does. But at the same time, the Ravens need to win ball games. They have 5 losses right now. You get 7, your chances of making the playoffs are kind of slim down depending on what other teams do. The Vikings, on the other hand, do I think they have a shot at winning their division? Maybe. They're not far back. They're 1 game back from the Packers, who's in first place. That's how tight the NFC North is right now. Anything can happen at any time, and the Vikings at the end of this week can end up in first place. Packers go out and lose to the Eagles, and the Vikings end up winning against the Ravens. And let's say the Lions and the Lions and Bears both lose this week. Vikings could be in first place from last to first, just like that.
Yeah.
The Ravens, on the other hand, they got a battle upon them. They need to go out and win this ball game today. They do. They lose today against the Vikings. Pittsburgh goes out and wins tonight. Pittsburgh, I think, will have a decent hold on the AFC North. So both teams need to win today. They do, and this could be a battle between Baltimore and Minnesota, definitely. We got the Buffalo Bills heading out to Miami to take on the Dolphins today. Like I said, the Bills are in 2nd place in the NFC East. They are 1 game back from the Patriots. The Dolphins, on the other hand, 2-7. And it seems like all things are lost out in Miami. What do you got on the Bills and Dolphins?
Again, the Dolphins are just a complete dumpster fire right now. Just completely awful. And the Bills are up and down, I would say. They lost some games that I didn't really expect them to lose. I guess, again, one of those games we just talked about when they lost against the Patriots. So they're kind of up and down as well. But they did beat the Chiefs, though, which again, like I said, it's still very impressive as well. So there's still a pretty good Bills team, but there's just something different about this Bills team, and I just can't put my finger on it. It doesn't necessarily feel the same when they go out and they lose these games to, underdogs, I guess. This could be one of them. I don't know. I highly doubt it though, because the Dolphins are just all over the place right now. They are not a cohesive unit at all. So, I mean, this should be, Bills game for the taking, I would say.
I definitely think that this is the Bills game of its own. I mean, the Bills should not go out and lose this ball game today. The Bills should not have a problem with Miami. Miami is a full-on train wreck. You want to talk about the New York Jets being a train wreck. I think Miami is a train wreck. The only problem is Miami looks like a more attractive team, roster-wise, coaching-wise, everything. They look like a more attractive team, but they're at the same level as the Jets right now.
Yeah.
And the expectations out in Miami this year were, we want to get into the playoffs. We want to, have a winning season and try and show that we're improving. But your top wide receiver who's out with a knee injury right now, he's not worried about going and rooting on his team. He's worried about going and DJing clubs out in Miami under the DJ name Cheetah. Yeah. He's DJing right now in clubs with a knee injury under the DJ name Cheetah.
Yeah.
If you want to book him, you just got to email him right now. Don't know how much he cost, but you can book him as a DJ. Just let you know.
He's got to pay for all those dang on kids he's got. That's why. He can't sit at home. He can't afford to.
Yeah, and Stephon Diggs ain't too far behind him in that situation either. So, Tyreek Hill's at what, 10? Stephon Diggs is at what, 4? So it's it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know if you heard about that situation with Stephon Diggs.
I did.
Current girlfriend, currently holding, while an ex-girlfriend is holding. So, Stephon Diggs is kind of catching up. Well, yeah, because he's dating Cardi B. That's who he's dating.
Yeah.
So, but again, this Dolphins team on paper looks more attractive than the Jets, but they're playing like the Jets, which is sad. And I'll say this right now, I think there's going to be a complete overhaul in Miami this year once we get to the offseason, because they're waiting until the end of the year for Mike McDaniel to make that decision. So
I still don't know why. Like, it's not going to get any better.
No, but I think what it is I don't think they want to deal with the whole interim thing, because I think they're going to make a complete overhaul in their coaching staff. And when they bring in an interim, they usually pick, the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, the special teams coach, an assistant, somebody in that coaching staff to be the interim. So why not give yourself an opportunity to go out and show progress with your head coach that you have under contract right now? Because Mike McDaniel is under a huge contract, so they're probably thinking, let's see if there's any improvement and see if we can salvage anything with the money that we're spending on this guy. Because even though you sit there and say contracts don't matter, in the sense some teams look at it as we're spending millions of dollars on this head coach, let's see if we can salvage anything out of this, and let's see if he is worth keeping around for one more year under his current contract, and see if we're not going to waste money. Right now, they're wasting money. But if Miami goes out and wins, let's say 3 or 4 of their last 7-8 games, then it might be salvageable. And they might sit there and say, you know what, we don't have to worry about, spending money on another coach. We're going to give McDaniel another season, another chance, and then we'll look into it. And they'll hot seat him next year if he stays. They will. They'll hot seat him.
Yeah.
They'll sit there and say, you know what, your contract may be up in 2028, so you have 2 more years. Now we'll eat the money that we owe you. So I think that's what it is they don't want to deal with the whole interim thing, because they might make a complete overhaul. Look at Philadelphia 2 years ago. Nick Sirianni was under fire because they lost 5 of their last 6 games, include the playoffs, their last 6 or 7. And everybody was calling for Nick Sirianni to be fired. They do a complete overhaul in their assistant coaches, in the coordinators, everything. And then the following year, they go out and win a Super Bowl. So it's like all it took was them to take care of the assistant coaches, the coordinators, everything. And they were right back on track. And that may be the situation out in Miami. Who knows? That might be it.
Could be.
So I think that's why they're waiting and evaluating Mike McDaniel to the fullest out in Miami, instead of saying we're giving him the axe right now. So that's just my opinion. That's what I think. I may be wrong. I may be. The New York Giants, they head out to Chicago to take on the Bears today. The Bears in third place in the NFC North, while the Giants showed some promise the last couple weeks up until they started dealing with injuries, and now the Giants may be right back to where they were. What do you got on the Giants and Bears today?
It's unfortunate for the Giants. Like I said again, I have a soft spot for the Giants. I do. Growing up a Giants fan, it's a cultural change. It's a cultural shift for the Giants right now, and that's good to see. That's great to see. That cultural change, that cultural shift hype kind of died down once Scatterboo got hurt, because it's like, okay, we're kind of screwed now, because we also got Malik Neighbors as well, who's also hurt, and his season is over as well. So that's kind of unfortunate. I would still say they might be a year out before we finally see this Giants team back to what they're used to from, back when they had Eli Manning and they're winning Super Bowls and things like that. So it's a cultural change for them, and it's going to be rough. I think it's going to be a rough go the rest of the season. And right now I just think they're just trying to keep their head above water. They're trying to focus on the negative, or not the negatives, but the positives that they brought into, came into with the season with, and then really try to axe and cut down on the negatives. I think going into, the remainder of the season and going into next season as well. For the Bears, like I said, I'm shocked. This is another team that surprised me with the Bears. Again, I think it's same with what I said with the Giants. This could just be a team that just got tired of being the team that with its losing culture, and they're taking and turning that around, and definitely playing like a much better Bears team. This is the best Bears team I've seen put together in a long time, for sure. So Caleb Williams, he's playing like a stud right now. Honestly, he is. So this realistically, I do believe is going to the Bears. They're at home, so this is tough territory for the Giants to be on the road. But no, I definitely think the Bears take this one with no realistic problems today in this game.
As an Eagles fan, it sits here and hurts me to personally talk positive about the Giants. But being a podcaster, I have to be unbiased and speak real. I have to speak real because, it wouldn't be fair to all the other teams in the NFL if I would sit here and just shit talk the rest of the NFL. You know what I mean? It would be unfair. But my real talk and real thoughts about the Giants is, you're not wrong. They were on the up. Cam Scatterboo and Jackson Dart, they have impressed me since coming in and taking over this team. And then it was sad to see Cam Scatterboo go down. It's so sad to see, to the fact that it happened 2 weeks ago and we're still talking about it. That's how sad it was, because this kid showed a lot of promise for not only his career, but for the organization of the New York Giants, because they may have found their guy to, can you sit there and say replace Saquon? Maybe, because Saquon did have a rough go out in New York. He did. He had a rough go. And it's not the best year for Saquon either out in Philadelphia this year, but had a hell of a year last year.
He's I don't not to mean to cut you off, but I don't like to necessarily say, when it comes to certain players on certain teams and the roles that they play and how special that they are for certain offenses, even defenses, I usually don't like to look at whoever comes in after them as replacements.
Okay.
Because it's especially when it's like, this is kind of going off a topic a little bit, but like take a special very, very talented player like Troy Polamalu, and then when he retires, and then there's like, okay, we got to find a safety that's like Troy Polamalu. You're not going to find that, though.
No.
That's very tough to find that. That's a generational talent, I feel like. And whoever comes in after them is just going to be as good as that person can be, that player can be at that position, but not necessarily the replacement. So Cam Scatterboo, for running back for the Giants, I think is the best since Saquon Barkley, but not necessarily his odds-on replacement.
Yeah, I mean, some would say just like out in Tampa Bay, that Baker Mayfield had some big shoes to step into, taking place of Tom Brady. Tom Brady left, Baker Mayfield came in, so he had some big shoes to step into. He did. Wasn't replacing. He wasn't taking, like, he was obviously taking over, but he was stepping into shoes that needed to be filled.
Right.
So I mean, that's fair to say, opposed to the replacing thing. So I can agree with you on that. Last game of the 1:00 set, the Jacksonville Jaguars head out to Houston to take on the Texans. The Jaguars up and down this year. The Texans, the same thing. What do you see coming out of Jacksonville and Houston today?
Again, we talked about it briefly earlier. The Jacksonville Jaguars are kind of up and down. They definitely impressed me, beating the Kansas City Chiefs in prime time. Because, I mean, if you were to go back 2-3 years ago, I mean, a lot of us would have probably thought that was impossible, So they definitely have improved. They've made improvements. This is definitely a different Jacksonville Jaguars team that, once again, another, sort of losing organization that is definitely trying to turn their fortune around. So it's very impressive to see for sure. The Texans are all over the place right now. I expected a bigger season for them. And it just really hasn't panned out that way. Some injuries happen, but definitely the injury bug has bitten them. And it has definitely affected, the bulk of their season. So I would say the Jacksonville Jaguars have the potential to really run away with this game. Maybe this is a test for them, possibly. We'll definitely have to see what the Houston Texas defense does against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I mean, I think the one thing that's going to hurt Jacksonville today is Brian Thomas Jr. being out. But I'm going to say this at the same time. I think the one thing that's not going to hurt the Jacksonville Jaguars today is Brian Thompson Jr. being out. Why I say that is because Brian Thompson Jr. has just not lived up to the expectations of the season. And that goes along with a lot of players this year. Saquon Barkley, Malik Neighbors, who was not doing too good before he went down. Expectations of some players are just not being lived up to. But you have these backups who are coming in and taking over. I mean, look at out in Los Angeles, Aronde Gatson Jr. comes out of nowhere and becomes one of the leading tight ends of the season. It's like this kid shows up and comes out. Cam Scattaboo comes out of nowhere. Jackson Dart comes out of nowhere. These backups and these guys that were not expected to do big things this season are doing the big things. Meanwhile, the guys that were expected to do big things are just not. And that's why I say Brian Thompson Jr. may or may not be missed today. CJ Stroud may or may not be missed today. Who knows? Davis Mills may come out and give us an MVP-like performance against Jacksonville today, because Jacksonville on defense isn't the greatest. And they are one of the most turnover teams, if not the top turnover team on offense this year. So I think Houston, if anything, is going to win this game, it's going to be because of their defense. Not so much their offense, but their defense. But again, Davis Mills can come out and have an MVP-like performance. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? This is a weird year this year in football.
Yes.
And anything can happen. We sit here and talk about fantasy, Cam. I'm 3-6, and our league is a 16 playoff. As currently as this week got switched to a 16 playoff because of us having 12 guys in the league. I went from a 4% chance of making the playoffs, and now it went up into the 30s just because we switched to a 16 playoff now. That's insane. I'm 2 games back from second place. 2 games back. So anything can happen, So we'll have to see what happens out in Houston today with the Jaguars and the Texans. Let's get into the 4:00 set of games. We got the Arizona Cardinals heading out to Seattle today. Arizona without Kyler Murray. Jacoby Brissett is going to be the starter. What do you got on the Seahawks and the Cardinals?
I mean, if Jacoby Brissett plays as well as he did for the Cardinals, I would say the Cardinals may end up pulling out the upset on this for sure. He looks a lot better right now than I think Kyler Murray has looked. So I would personally say that would be their starter going forward. Kyler Murray coming up on his contract next season, so there's already talks, as you told me earlier. Already talks of potential who he could get picked up by after next season. So we'll definitely have to see there. The Seahawks are definitely another team that's impressing me for sure. Sam Darnold once again, I mean, just balling out, just absolutely playing out of his mind this year. It's insane. So again, this is another toss-up game, I would say. Again, though, except the Cardinals, I definitely could come out with the win here. I'm not counting them out. Just how good as Jacoby Brissett has been playing thus far.
When you go and look at the MVP talk right now, it's not Mahomes, it's not Hurts, it's not Allen, it's not Burrow, it's not Herbert, it's Sam Darnold. It's I laugh when I think about this. It's not those guys. It's Sam Darnold. It's Daniels out in Indianapolis. It's Jonathan Taylor out in Indianapolis. It is a fleet of guys you do not expect on the MVP talk list.
Yes.
And just to think Sam Darnold, who last year in Minnesota went 14-3, got dropped off in the first round of the playoffs against the Rams, goes out to Seattle, gets a pretty decent contract, gets called the guy, and is now in the MVP talk. Wasn't an MVP talk last year, but he is this year out in Seattle, which is nuts.
Yes.
Jacoby Brissett had a great performance against Dallas last Monday night. Great performance. And is now the guy moving forward for at least the next 4 games. If Jacoby Brissett comes out and balls out these next 4 weeks, he's going to be the name of the start of the rest of the year. Kyler Murray on his way out of Arizona if Jacoby Brissett shows up and shows out. But I don't think Arizona should jump that gun. I don't think they do. I don't think they should. I think what they should think about doing is either franchise tagging Kyler Murray and giving him 1 more year instead of trying to give him a big contract, because he's going to want a big contract. He is. Is Kyler Murray still a starter in the NFL? Some may say no. Some may say no. I think he is. He's just got to get into the right system. He does. And Arizona may not be the right system. Again, look at Darnold. Didn't have a good go out in New York. Didn't have a good go out in Carolina. Had a decent backup position out in San Francisco, and then he goes out to Minnesota and balls out, and now look what he's doing in Seattle. It's all about being in the right system. Look at Daniels out in Indianapolis. Giants weren't the right system for him, but now look what he's doing in Indianapolis. I think it's all about what system these players are in, and right now the system out in Arizona is just not it for Kyler Murray. And I think if he goes elsewhere and they finds the right system, we may see a different Kyler Murray. Now, whatever team that may be, I'm not going to sit here today and make a decision today on who I think he should go to, because I think it's way too early to even be talking about that because of the state of some of these teams that are in, especially in the quarterback position. We got to remember the NFL draft, the NFL combine comes up in the next couple months, and then we get the draft. What quarterback is going to go to what team coming out of the draft? What team is going to focus on getting a quarterback coming out of the draft? And then you got to think about what team is going to look at a veteran opposed to drafting a rookie quarterback. So you got to consider all those factors before sitting here today and thinking about whether Kyler Murray is going to be on team A, team B, team C, team C, whatever. And you got to think about what system he would fit in the most. Somebody say he fits in Cleveland because of the system out there. And he may go out and turn Cleveland around. That's all it takes. So we'll have to see what happens with Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals these next couple weeks. We got the Detroit Lions heading out to Washington to take on the Commanders. The Commanders without Jaden Daniels for at least the next couple weeks because, again, they are considering reevaluating the injury. Meanwhile, the Lions, they're back to their winning ways. They're back on track. It seems like even though with the loss in Minnesota, still possible Super Bowl favorites. What do you got on the Lions and Commanders today?
I don't know if I would agree with that sentiment. I mean, yeah, maybe there's still Super Bowl favorites. I honestly thought this Lions team was back to their dominant ways. But after I mean, completely getting shut down by the Chiefs, and then they're getting shut down by the Vikings. I don't know what it is. There's something. This is the same thing with Detroit. It's, there's something different out there in Detroit that's not the same. I think this team is easily shut down when they face some of these better defenses, which is again surprising to me. Especially when you have Montgomery, you have Jahmyr Gibbs, literally hands down the best 1-2 punch on the ground. There was a time when I thought those two guys were just unstoppable, and this year you have seen them literally get stopped. So I don't know. The Lions are still a fairly good team. It's just they're on shaky ground, I think, to me. Now against the Commanders, again, Jaden with the brutal, absolutely gruesome injury, and now they have to start Mariota again. I don't know. Right now, it's tough right now out there in Washington. I expected this though. A lot of people were saying that they were going to get back and get back to the playoffs again. I just didn't see that. And again, the injuries have definitely kept them off the radar and out of that conversation for sure. So the Lions, I would say, should have this. They should return to form, especially on the ground with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So this should be their game to win against the Commanders.
Oh my gosh, I had to catch my breath there. Excuse me. It is so hot in this house, man. I am sweating up this freaking storm. It is, dude. It's not bad outside. Like, I have my fan blowing in right now, opposed to out, and another window open, and it is still hot as crap in this room. It's like, Jesus, sweating. Lose my train of thought for a second because of it. All right. The final game of the 4 o'clock set, we got the Los Angeles Rams heading out to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. The Rams 6-2, the 49ers 6-3. Both teams are vying for the NFC West Championship this year, along with the Seattle Seahawks. The 49ers going out and winning with backups, while the Rams are dominating with their starters. What do you got on the Rams and 49ers today?
The Niners definitely were on a hot streak there for a little bit. And then, they've had some losses here and there. So it's kind of shaky right now. They're still looking like a good team, though. Mac Jones is out there balling right now out there in San Francisco. And then the Rams are really good. Matthew Stafford, I think, is also in that conversation for MVP as well. Last I checked anyways. So the Rams are pretty good. They're just stacked right now. With their receiving core and things like that. They had one game. I can't remember who they played, but they had Adams, who just went out there and just absolutely balled out with 3 touchdowns. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, they've had injuries, issues, more specifically with one of their favorite targets in Nakua, but they still just find ways to win. So this could be another great game for the 4 o'clock schedule. So we'll definitely have to see. But these two teams, I would say, are going to go to war today in this game.
It's always a big matchup when the Rams and the 49ers get together. It always is a great matchup. I mean, they've had games where playoff implications were on the line, even as much so as playoff berths on the line. These two teams, every time they meet up, whether they're 2-10 or 7-8 or whatever their record may be, always has a great game to look forward to. I expect the same today, even with Mac Jones being the starter out in San Francisco. Brock Purdy having the issues with the turf toe. Who knows when he's going to hit the field? I even convinced my cousin to drop Brandon Ayuk from his fantasy team because he had him on IR. And I said, dude, until Brandon Ayuk even gets deemed to go back to practice and then wait the 10 days to be elevated to, on practice, questionable, off the IR, anything like that. He's not seeing the field. It's not happening. His season may even be over because he suffered a pretty significant injury. So I would drop him. The receiving core out in San Francisco, the quarterback room, they're hurting right now. The defensive side of the ball even hurting right now, but they're winning ball games. The NFC West is one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive division in football today. And this game, if anything, is probably the most exciting next to the Steelers and Chargers on Sunday night, next to the Packers and Eagles on Monday night, the most exciting game to look forward to on this schedule this week. And I'm ready for it. I wish it was 1 o'clock game, but we got to wait another 4 hours. So, and that's even if we get it, because, our schedule here on the East Coast, sometimes we don't get to see the West Coast games. But I believe this is the America's Game of the Week on Fox today. I believe it is. So we'll end up getting that. So, update right now, Falcons are up 17-13 on the Colts out in Berlin with about 11 minutes left in the game. And it looks like the Colts are driving, looking like they're ready to score. They are on the Falcons' 15-yard line as the update shows. So I do not have the live cast. I just have the simulcast on the good old internet because I don't have NFL Network. You would think as a full-time football podcaster that I would have the NFL Network so I can watch these things, but I don't. That's why we need people to start hitting that follow button and subscribing to the Twitch so we can start getting that stuff together here. Okay, just making a joke, trying to be funny. Jesus. Go on TikTok live and start battling people. You never know.
There you go.
You know what they call battlers on TikTok, right? Jesus. Speaking of that, I got my studio set up for Live Fest, so I'm ready to go. Ready to get started. Got my studio set up on the computer. Got everything pre-set up, ready to go to hit that live button in 12 days. So yeah, Gonna make the attempt. Gonna make that attempt. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh man! All right. On Sunday Night Football, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers heading out to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. The Steelers coming off the Steelers didn't come off a bye week. Let me start that over. My gosh. On Sunday Night Football, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers heading out to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. The Steelers leading the AFC North right now. The Chargers in second place in the AFC West behind the Broncos. What do you got on the Steelers and Chargers on Sunday night?
Well, like I said, Steelers are definitely really banged up in the secondary. Jalen Ramsey is going to safety to really help out in the backfield or whatever. Miles Killebrew, again, with the knee injury and in season-ending knee injury, should I say, out of the backfield. And then Jabril Peppers is out. Deshaun Elliott is out. So the secondary is really banged up. So they're really trying to piece things together and replace some people to like I said, stay in these games because they're just so banged up. And then the Chargers look okay. They definitely looked a lot better towards the beginning of this season. The one thing that really scares me, I think, about this particular game is its prime time. I think our primetime games are always they don't always go our way. They don't always go the Pittsburgh Steelers way. So they've definitely struggled in prime time for some reason. I don't know why. But at the same time, though, I think maybe this is kind of like what they call a homer move. I think Pittsburgh is honestly one of the better on the road teams. They've done fairly well on the road. I mean, they got a win out there in freaking Dublin, against the Vikings a few weeks ago. So they definitely are a pretty decent team on the road as well. So again, I don't know if those two things will cancel out, being primetime and being on the road. I don't know, but we'll definitely have to see. I think they have their hands full with the Chargers, so we'll have to see there.
Steelers are 2-1 on the road this year, so they have a winning record on the road. So I mean, their home record right now is 3-2, 3-2 at home, 2-1 on the road. Makes them 5-3 on the season, which is not bad. It's a winning record. It's a playoff record at the moment. They are even with the early playoff projections, the second seeded team behind the Colts. And if the Colts lose today, Pittsburgh with a win tonight would put them in first place for home field advantage. Be crazy. Just think of that, Cam. Your Steelers would be in first place for home field advantage because, actually, no, they wouldn't be. Sorry, I take that back. You would have the Patriots in first place.
Yeah.
With the Colts loss today. And the Patriots would be in second. The Steelers would be in third. Or no, the Broncos are in third. Steelers are fourth seed at the moment.
I'll take it.
Hey. And if the Patriots lose today, the Broncos would be in first for home field advantage if the Colts and the Patriots were lose today. So, I mean, the playoff picture's starting to kind of take shape. I mean, it's very early yet. It is very early yet, and anything can happen. Anything can happen. But I mean, for the Steelers to go out and pick up a win today out in Los Angeles tonight in Los Angeles would be great. I'm ready for this game. I'm going to definitely be watching this game tonight because I am very excited for this Sunday night game. And then my Eagles play tomorrow night, so tomorrow night's going to be a very, very busy night. Definitely is, because we got the table spot tomorrow night. We got Monday Night Raw. We got the Eagles game. You better believe I'm going to have 2 or 3 screens going. I might even just do Monday Night Football here and Monday Night Raw here, opposed to sitting over on the couch and trying to watch everything. So I'll figure it out when we get to that time. But the Steelers, man, I'll say this right now. I got a lot of high hopes for the Steelers. I've been very heavy on the Steelers this year. There's even been artificial intelligence predictions that if the Super Bowl were to take place out in California, and this was a prediction that happened last year, Cam, that if the decision was made that Super Bowl 60 was going to be out in California, then 2 Pennsylvania teams would make it. And obviously the 2 Pennsylvania teams are the Eagles and the Steelers. So let's see if AI is as smart as people think it is. And the Steelers and Eagles are meeting in Super Bowl 60. Let's see.
We'll see.
Let's see if that happens. On Monday Night Football, the Philadelphia Eagles head out to Green Bay to take on the Packers. The last 2 meetings between these teams, the Eagles got the upper hand last year to kick off the season on oh my gosh, where were they? Okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to start that over because I do want to clip this one. On Monday night, the Philadelphia Eagles head out to Green Bay to take on the Packers. The last 2 meetings between these 2 teams, the Eagles got the upper hand to kick off the season last year in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And then in the wild card round of the playoffs, leading to the Eagles winning Super Bowl 59. Cam, what do you got on the Eagles and Packers on Monday night?
Like I said, Eagles are definitely starting to pick things up again, and just look like the Eagles of old. The championship Eagles right now. So I'm still expecting them to have a really big year. They did have Saquon with the injury scare, but he's good now. So definitely get him more involved. I always say that just because that's just a big part of their offense with the run game for sure. With the Packers, again, we've said it before, like they looked like probably one of the best NFC teams early on in the year. And since the tie with the Cowboys just have kind of had a rocky road here and there, they lost to the Panthers last week, which was very unexpected. The underdog Panthers coming in and beating the Packers. So I don't know. Right now the Packers are kind of up and down, but I think the Eagles might have this. Honestly, they really have, I think, a better run game than I think the Packers do right now.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Jacobs has been having a pretty good year out in Green Bay. Jordan Love, I'll say this right now. Jordan Love is probably one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. I like Jordan Love. I've been pulling for this kid since he took over out in Green Bay. But this year, just something feels different about him than the previous years. It seems like he's more settled in Green Bay, which is not a problem. But at the same time, he does not have a consistent, key wide receiver to throw to. And when you put yourself in that position, you just go to your clutch and your crutch of your running back and say, here you go, just take it, because I don't know who the freak I'm going to throw to. And the Packers wide receiver room hasn't been as accurate as it's been in current years. And this is the same wide receiver room we've seen the past 2 years. They haven't made any changes with the exception of drafting Matthew Golden this past year in the draft. Yeah. But this Packers team, again, they come out the first couple of weeks, have the dominance, then they go out and lose to the Browns. They tied with the Cowboys. Now they lost to the Cardinals. Like, they sit there right now at 5-2-1, and normally ties get treated like wins when it comes down to playoff implications. They treat a tie like a win. So for example, if the Bears end up with 11 wins at the end of the year and the Packers end up with 11 wins at the end of the year, but the Packers have that tie, they're going to treat that tie like a 12th win and say the Packers win the NFC North. Now they get the higher seed in the playoffs. Now they get a home game in the playoffs. Now let's see what they can do. That's how they treat it. So realistically, you look at it, the Packers with that tie, they're 6-2. They need to look at the tie situation first off and just get rid of it.
Yes.
They need a guaranteed winner. It works in college football always. So get rid of the tie and give us a win or a loss. This tie stuff is ridiculous, and it has ruined a lot of things over the past years. It has, because some of these players don't realize that the NFL has ties. And then some fans go out and attack the players for not knowing the NFL has ties, which is ridiculous, because you got to remember,
it's not our fault.
Well, I mean, the thing is these players, it's not their fault that they don't know, because from the Pee Wee level up to high school through college, they don't deal with ties.
No.
There's a winner or a loser. And then you get to the NFL, it's like, okay, we're going to have a 10-minute, regulated overtime. And if the score is the same at the end of it, then that's it. And then it started off with the sudden death thing, and then they switched the rule of both teams get a possession, all thanks because of what happened between Buffalo and Kansas City a couple years ago in the playoffs. Like, get rid of ties. Give us a winner or a loser. If the game goes into 3 overtimes, then so be it. So be it. That's just more football.
Yeah.
So they definitely need to. But the Packers, again, I think the Eagles are going to go out and win this game, not only because I'm an Eagles fan, but it's the fact of the inconsistencies out in Green Bay right now, going up against this Philadelphia team who just became stronger in the past couple days with bringing in Jalen Phillips, Brandon Graham coming back. Now they're getting back Nolan Smith. I mean, this defense just got stronger in the past couple days out in Philadelphia. And coming off the bye week, guys are getting healthy. A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, like you said, coming out of the concussion protocol, he was fine. It's this Eagles team is as healthy as can be. This Packers team is a little inconsistent to the fact where I think the Eagles go out and take care of their business this week on Monday night. So, but that's all we got for you guys for Week 10. In the NFL, me and John are going to recap Week 10 on the Tuesday show starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And speaking of the pick challenge between me and John, John is 89-46. That is his overall record this year. I am 84-51, so he has a 5-game lead on me right now. Our differences for the week, the Patriots and Bucks. I took the Patriots. John took the Bucks. For the Vikings and Rams, I took the Vikings. John took the Ravens. Texans and Jaguars, I took the Texans. John took the Jaguars. And for the Steelers and Chargers, I took the Steelers and John took the Chargers. So those are our differences for the pick challenge this week. We will also have an update for you guys on that on Tuesday night, along with our college football pick challenge update as well. With that being said, Cam, let's get out of here. Before we do, your social medias are going to be on the bottom. Make sure you're going over and checking out everything that Cam is doing over on social media. But Cam, what do you got going on? What do you want to let the people know?
Well, like I said, definitely keep up with me on my TikTok on Cam's Wrestling Corner. I'm having a double upload today on some videos, on some news coming out of wrestling. So definitely stay tuned for that as well. And then, of course, in terms of the network, you can find us right here every single Sunday morning at 10:30, our new start time, 10:30 a.m. every Sunday morning, talking some college football and, of course, the NFL. And then, of course, on River City Radio on Monday nights after Monday Night Raw with the Table Swap with me and Metalcore Mike. And then on Wednesdays, same network with the Boom, with the addition of Phil Kahn and, of course, the man sitting next to me for the Boom after AEW Dynamite, talking about some AEW. So stay tuned for all that as well. Love and appreciate all you guys come by and checking out the stream tonight. Or today, I guess.
Today. Feels like nighttime, especially with this weather. But make sure you're checking out everything Cam is doing on social media and on all the shows that Cam is on. So hit that follow button and check out all his social medias. Real quick, John, TikTok and Twitch. He's been posting a lot of our Dynasty going on right now in our college football Dynasty. We started doing our college football Dynasty lives on the Huddle Hub podcast. So they're kind of pop up, so when we have to do our off-season stuff or we end up playing each other in the national championship, we go live here on the Huddle Hub podcast. We give that to you guys live because we do have the video game content. So, just keep an eye. That's why we tell you to hit the follow button, because we can end up, and I make the announcement on the X that we're going to be playing. So keep an eye out for that stuff. I'm on Instagram, X, TikTok, and Snapchat at MetalMike714. That's where you can find me. Again, I don't do a lot of content creating personally, but I do all my content creating here on the shows, which I'm live here every Sunday morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with Cam, and then at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Tuesday night with John. I also do TikTok lives over on the Huddle Hub Podcast TikTok a half hour before the shows go live for a pre-show live, so we could talk about anything and everything in football, stuff we either talk about on the show here or stuff we don't talk about on the show here. And like Cam said, over on Rivet City Radio and Off the Top Media, we got the table spot on Monday night after Raw. We got the boom on Wednesday night after AEW Dynamite as we go live after both shows over there. Thank you, everybody, for checking out the show. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Take care of each other. Be patient with each other. Remember, the world is not moving as fast as you think. Until Tuesday night, good luck to your teams this week, guys. Deuces.